You ever meet someone who thinks they can buy the world, and then get slapped with a reality check so hard it changes them forever? That's what happened in this story, and trust me, it's a wild ride, one that starts with a smug billionaire thinking he's got everyone's number, only to get schooled by a waitress who's got more fire in her soul than he could ever imagine. So, grab a coffee, settle in, and let me tell you about Ellie Harper and the night she turned a fancy Manhattan restaurant upside down. It all went down at Lumina, this ritzy spot on the 70th floor of a skyscraper, with floor-to-ceiling windows showing off New York City like it's a damn painting. The kind of place where the silverware costs more than your rent, and the air smells like money-expensive cologne, leather seats, and just a hint of whatever fancy sauce they're drizzling over $200 plates of steak. For the big shots dining there, it's a playground. For the staff, it's a war zone where you keep your head down, smile, and pray you don't spill wine on a hedge fund bro. Ellie Harper knew that game inside out. She'd been working tables at Lumina for 3 years, moving like a ghost, quick, quiet, invisible. Dark hair pulled back tight, black uniform starched to hell, face locked in that polite, don't talk to me smile. She could pour a $500 bottle of Bordeaux without a drop hitting the tablecloth, set down plates of fancy-ass lobster without making a sound, and dodge the wandering hands of drunk execs without breaking a sweat. But nobody saw her, not really. To them, she was just the help. That night, the king of the castle was Julian Kane, a 35-year-old tech mogul who ran Kane Ventures, a company that ate startups for breakfast and spat out billions. Picture this guy, sharp cheekbones, eyes like a storm cloud, wearing a suit so tailored it probably had its own therapist. He was holding court at the corner booth with his 2 buddies, Marcus Reed, his right-hand man with a tired smile, and some other suit who looked like he was born with a silver spoon in his mouth. They were laughing, loud and smug, toasting to another company they'd just gutted in a takeover. Julian's voice carried across the room, all confidence and sharp edges. "Every company's got a price, Marcus," he said, swirling his scotch. "You just gotta find it. Same goes for people." Marcus shifted, looking uneasy. "I dunno, Julian. Some things aren't for sale." Julian laughed, short and mean. "Name one." That's when his eyes landed on Ellie. She was clearing a table nearby, balancing a tray of dirty glasses with that quiet grace she'd perfected. To Julian, it wasn't grace, it was just another worker be doing her job, ripe for his little game. He raised a hand, lazy but commanding, like he was summoning a dog. "Waitress," he called, loud enough to make heads turn. Ellie's stomach dropped. Getting singled out by a guy like Julian was never good news. She walked over, hands clasped behind her back, bracing herself. "Yes, sir," she said, voice steady but guarded. Julian didn't even look at her at first, just pulled a sleek black card from his wallet and pointed it at her like it was a loaded gun. "I've got a deal for you," he said, smirking, his voice dripping with that rich guy swagger. "My friend here thinks some people have, what, dignity that can't be bought? I say that's bullshit. So here's the deal. I'll pay you $10,000, right now, to dance for us. Right here in the middle of the restaurant. Show us you're more than just a tray monkey." The room went dead quiet. You could hear the clink of a fork hitting a plate somewhere. Every eye was on Ellie, waiting for her to crumble under the weight of Julian's money and arrogance. His buddies froze, Marcus looking like he wanted to sink into the floor. Even the manager, Mr. Grayson, started speed walking over, his face screaming panic but knowing better than to interrupt a guy like Julian Kane. Ellie felt her face burn, not from embarrassment, but from a slow, simmering rage. This wasn't just a dare, it was a public gut punch, meant to strip her down for sport. Julian leaned back, smirking wider, thinking he had her pegged. A broke waitress who'd jump at the cash. And yeah, he wasn't totally wrong. Ellie was drowning not in rent or credit card debt, but in hospital bills for her little sister, Mia, who'd been fighting a rare autoimmune disease since she was 12. Those bills were a monster, eating up every dime Ellie made. forcing her to trade her old dreams for 16-hour shifts. That $10,000? It wasn't pocket change, it was a month of Mia's meds, a chance to keep her sister out of pain. But bending to this jerk's whim felt like selling her soul. She locked eyes with Julian, and for the first time, her polite mask cracked. There was something alive in her gaze, something fierce. "Fine," she said, her voice cutting through the silence like a knife. "But not here. Over there, by the piano. And you pay up front." Julian's grin spread like he'd already won. He swiped his card through a machine the manager practically sprinted to bring over, and a receipt for $10,000 spat out. He handed it to her like it was a tip for coffee. "Your prize, sweetheart," he said, all condescension. Ellie took it, folded it, tucked it into her apron. Her hands didn't shake. She walked to the open space by the grand piano, the city skyline glittering behind her. The pianist had just finished his set, leaving the room eerily quiet. Ellie unpinned her hair, letting it fall in dark waves down her back, catching the chandelier light. She kicked off her clunky work shoes, her bare feet hitting the cold marble floor. Every diner, every waiter, hell, even the busboys stopped dead, watching. Julian crossed his arms, ready for a laugh, expecting some awkward shimmy. He was about to get his world rocked. Ellie closed her eyes, took a breath, and it was like she shed her skin. She wasn't Ellie the waitress anymore. She was Ellie Harper, the girl who'd once been a dance prodigy, training at the Manhattan Dance Academy until a car crash 6 years ago took her parents and left Mia's body broken. That crash stole her future, forcing her to trade point shoes for a serving tray. But the dance was still in her, buried deep, and now it was clawing its way out. She started slow, no music, just her body telling a story. Her arms rose, not soft and pretty, but heavy, like she was pushing against a wall of grief. Her fingers curled into fists, trembling, then snapped open as her body twisted into a sharp, angry contraction. The room gasped. This wasn't a performance, it was a reckoning. Her feet found a rhythm, tapping out a fierce beat on the marble, like she was stomping on every injustice she'd faced. Then she exploded into motion, a perfect arabesque that held for a heart-stopping second, followed by a raw, jagged turn that screamed defiance. It was ballet, but not the polished kind you see on a stage. It was messy, real, like she was dancing to outrun her demons. Spins so fast they blurred, leaps that felt like she was reaching for something she'd lost: her parents, her dreams, Mia's health. The diners forgot their phones, their food, their egos. The only sounds were Ellie's ragged breaths and the whisper of her feet. Marcus leaned toward Julian, whispering, "Who the hell is she?" Julian didn't answer. He couldn't. His smirk was gone, replaced by a look like he'd been slapped. He'd wanted a show. He got a masterpiece. Ellie's dance was a story of loss: her parents' crash, Mia's pain, the nights she cried herself to sleep wondering if this was all her life would be. Every move was a middle finger to Julian's arrogance, to the world that tried to break her. For the finale, she slowed, sinking to the floor, curling into herself like she was carrying the weight of the world. Her shoulders shook, not fake tears, but real ones, the kind that come when you let go of something you've held too long. Then, slowly, she rose, spine straight, chin high, eyes blazing. She wasn't broken. She stared right at Julian, her gaze saying, "You don't own me." The room was silent for a long, heavy moment. Then Marcus stood, clapping, his face full of awe. One by one, the whole restaurant, billionaires, socialites, waiters joined in, a roaring standing ovation. Julian stayed seated, his face pale, like he'd just realized he'd tried to buy a hurricane. Ellie didn't bow. She wiped her face, slipped on her shoes, and walked out, past the clapping crowd, past her fuming manager, out the glass doors of Lumina. The receipt was still in her apron, not a prize, but payment for what Julian tried to take from her. She'd earned it, not by dancing for him, but by proving him wrong. The next morning, Julian woke up a different man. Usually, he was a machine 5 a.m. gym, market reports, black coffee, his assistant Lauren barking his schedule. But that morning, he couldn't focus. Ellie's dance was burned into his brain, the fury, the grace, the raw pain. It was more real than anything in his polished world of deals and power plays. He felt something he wasn't used to, shame. He'd tried to buy her dignity for a quick laugh, and she'd turned it into something unforgettable. "Cancel my morning," he told Lauren, his voice flat. "All of it." She blinked. Julian Kane didn't cancel. "Find me everything on Ellie Harper." Everything. By noon, a grainy video from a busboy hit the internet. "Billionaire dares waitress to dance. You won't believe what happens." It exploded 1 million views by lunch, 10 million by dinner. The internet ate it up, calling Ellie the Lumina firecracker. Was she a secret Broadway star? A runaway ballerina? Ellie saw the video at her sister's hospital bedside, her stomach twisting. Her private pain was now a spectacle, just like Julian wanted. She unplugged her Wi-Fi, turned off her phone, and told her roommate, "Tara, I need to disappear." But Julian wasn't done. Lauren's report came back fast. Ellie Harper, 25, parents killed in a crash 6 years ago, sister Mia with a rare disease, Ellie her legal guardian. Full scholarship to Manhattan Dance Academy, dropped out at 19 to care for Mia. Over dollar report, $500,000 in medical debt. Julian read it over and over, his chest tight. She hadn't danced for his money, she'd danced for Mia, for survival. He felt sick. He'd turned her pain into a game. "Cancel my week," he told Lauren, "and get me everything on Mia's treatment." He didn't send money, Ellie would have burned it. Instead, he called Dr. Rachel Patel at St. Mary's Hospital. "I'm funding your autoimmune research program," he said. "All of it, plus a patient fund, starting with Mia Harper. No one knows it's me." Dr. Patel was floored. It was millions, a lifeline for kids like Mia. Julian felt a weight lift, but it wasn't enough. He needed to do more, not for forgiveness, but because Ellie had shown him something real. Meanwhile, Ellie got a call from Dr. Patel. "Mia's treatment is fully funded, indefinitely, by an anonymous donor." Ellie cried, the burden of years lifting. She didn't know it was Julian, and that was the point. But the viral video wouldn't let her go. Offers poured in, dance companies, TV shows, but they felt like pity. She ignored them, instead renting a cheap Brooklyn studio to dance for herself, to feel alive again. Then came the Lincoln Center Gala, where Julian was launching his new foundation, the Ember Project, $100 million to support dancers facing crises like Ellie's. He sent her an invitation, a handwritten note. "This isn't charity. It's a stage, yours if you want it." She didn't respond. Too raw, too afraid of his world. But then a vicious article dropped, courtesy of Sophie Lane, Ellie's old rival from dance school, now a rising star. It called Ellie unstable, Julian a manipulator. Sophie's jealousy had festered for years, and now she was twisting Ellie's moment into a scandal. That was it. Ellie grabbed the invitation and stormed the gala in her street clothes, a rebel among tuxes and gowns. Backstage, she found Julian in a panic over the article. "It's a lie," she said, her voice steel. "You offered me a stage. I'm taking it." Julian nodded, awestruck, and told the stage manager, "She's on now." The curtain rose. Ellie stood in a single spotlight, no costume, no music, just her. The audience whispered, expecting the viral dance. Instead, she gave them power, a flawless arabesque, spins that screamed control, a performance that said, "I'm no victim." She ended tall, defiant, her gaze sweeping the crowd. The theater erupted, not in pity, but in awe. Sophie, waiting in the wings, went pale, her lies crumbling. Ellie walked past her without a glance. She didn't need to. She'd won. Backstage, Julian waited. "Thank you," Ellie said, "for the stage." "Thank you," he replied, "for showing me who you are." He offered her the Ember Project's artistic director role, not a handout, but a partnership. She saw the change in him, the man who'd learned what money couldn't buy. She took his hand. A new chapter began. This story's about more than a dance, it's about what's inside us, the stuff no one sees. Ellie didn't just dance. She fought for her truth, and Julian learned that some things are worth more than money. So, what do you think? Was Julian's redemption enough? Or did he get off too easy? Should Ellie have taken his offer sooner? Or was her defiance the real victory? Drop a comment, share this with someone who needs a spark, and hit that like button if this hit you in the feels. Thanks for listening.